Today we have a number of presenters that should make the time go faster. We have Lynn Kelly and Michael Soden representing DACDB and are actually creators of the program that we're going to be talking about today. We also have Kathy Poole, who is our district grants chair, Hal Kibbe, who is our stewardship chair, myself, the District Rotary Foundation Committee Chair, and Leanne, who is our techie, is also our subgrants Committee Chair. As you know, the process for grants changed about 8 years ago. One second. And since that process changed, the Rotary Foundation pretty much gave a lot of the stewardship of district grants to the districts. And so the district is now responsible for the primary stewardship of our grants. And so that's one of the reasons that we're going over this, is that process has changed structurally a bit over time, and we want to make sure everybody's up to speed on what's the most current information. The first goal for this training is that we want to help club members. Somebody's phone's not on mute or system. So we want to make sure that district grants are as accessible to club members and clubs as possible. So we want it, that's the first purpose of this training. The second purpose is that we have a team with Kathy Poole leading and Hal Kibbe that are, we're trying to make their job feasible. Because in the past, I know Julie DeCuro's on here and Eric Hodnett, and in the past, they've done this and they know what a challenge it is to read and approve and then do final reports for about 60 grants. You can imagine if it takes you several hours to write your grant, what it takes for somebody to review that, make sure it's complete, and then review your final report to make sure that's complete. So we're trying to set this up to make this as accessible as possible for the district to administer accurately, and as well as clubs to do it. So I think I'm going to introduce Lynn and Michael now, and then I'll interject a few things as we go along. So first, I'd like to introduce Lynn Kelly. Probably shouldn't read Michael's bio. Lynn has an extensive career working with major companies. Her career focus has been customer service, learning, and knowledge management. Lynn has been with DACDB for 4 years. She was involved in the creation of the grants module, and many districts are using this module. She has also led the RLI, that's Rotary Leadership Institute registration, and the RILA, Rotary Youth Leadership Award registration system. Lynn and her team are responsible for day-to-day inquiries that are delivered via email, phone, and ticket. The team also manages the help support section of DACDB, updating information as changes are made to DACDB. Lynn and her team are always available to set up one-on-one trainings when necessary and to hold club trainings via Zoom. So if you wanted to train a number of people in your club, you could contact Lynn. Lynn is a Rotarian, a Paul Harris Society member, and a major donor. She received Rookie of the Year and Rotarian of the Year honors in her club. She's also the District Executive Secretary for District 7730. She's a member of the South Brunswick Island Rotary Club in North Carolina. Lynn and her husband reside in Ocean Isle Beach, North Carolina. She's originally from Cleveland, Ohio, and Lynn's a big fan of Ohio State, Cleveland Browns, Cleveland Indians, and Cleveland Cavalier fan. Pretty much covers Cleveland. And now we have Michael Soden, who first joined Rotary in 2003. Michael is currently a member of the Rotary Club of Green Valley in Henderson, Nevada. He's been a club president twice. The first time was in Central Virginia, District 7600 in 2008 and 9. The second time was Green Valley, District 5300 in 2013-14. Michael will be the district governor in 23-24. Congratulations, Michael. He currently serves as district communication officer for District 7600 and District 5300 and the District 5300 grants chair. Too bad Michael's not busy. He's also been serving on the Southwest regional pets and works on their website. Michael's a Paul Harris Fellow +8. He's the owner founder of the Harcaf Agency, a web development firm since 2001. As a contractor for DACDB, Michael has developed and managed DACDB's WordPress program, creates the sales and marketing collateral for the company, and does DACDB training and assists in developing grants and RILA and PETS modules. He lives with his wife Sylvia in Henderson, Nevada. They have one daughter, Alicia, and two grandsons, Aiden and Alejandro. With that, I'll turn it over to Lynn.
Great, thank you very much, Tim. And welcome everyone. I'm going to share my screen here. Let's see. I need you to give me access to do that. There we go. Okay. So when you come into DACDB, you are going to land on the home page. Today, I am going to be in the Bear Creek Valley Club, and I'm going to impersonate the president-elect of that club, Shane Mustard, today. So to get to the grants module, you're going to click on your My Club tab, and then you're going to look for your grants icon. If you do not see your grants icon here, there's a little configuration wheel up on the top right of the page here. You would just click that wheel on. It's probably sitting down here under available icons, and you can just drag it up to the yellow section where the icons are displayed, and then click Set My Configuration. So since it is here, I'm going to click this on. And since we are going to be working in the year 2021-22, the first thing you're going to want to do is change the org year. So you're going to come over to the right, click that button, and you're going to change it to 21-22. And if you want to work here for a while, you can put a little check mark in this box and it'll stay in that year. But I know some of you have grants that you have to close from 2021. So at this point in time, I would just change it when you need it. And once you change it, you're going to see the district grants overview. I'm going to let Tim discuss some of these dates here for you. And then after that, we'll proceed.
Thank you, Lynn. If you'll notice in red at the top, you'll see that if you didn't realize that already, the DDF match this year is again 1-to-1 with a maximum of $2,000. There's no limit on the number of clubs that can partner on a project, but if you're partnering on a project, that project has to be your high priority project. You'll hear some of this later when Kathy goes over this, but it never hurts to hear some things twice. So June 1st is when your full application is due. There is no pre-application and then a final application. Your final application is due June 1st. We're asking that your club is fully qualified by July 1st. Fully qualified means that, and I have it all written down so I don't miss anything, your president-elect needs to take the grant management seminar on the Rotary Learning Center and send their certificate of completion to me or to Hal Kibbe.
Oh.
Your district grant writer or collaborator for your grant needs to take this workshop or watch the video that's coming up after this is completed and then send me an email stating that they watched it in full, and we'll take the 4-way test on that. District grant report is due by December 31st. In reality, there's holidays in December for most people. And so in reality, it would be best if you could finish your grant in November so that people aren't scrambling around during holidays and family visits and so forth, trying to get things done. I do want to mention when I said that we want your club to be qualified by July 1st. So we will not review grant applications until your club is fully qualified. And the reason for that is in the past, we have spent a lot of time reviewing grants going back and forth with clubs, come find out that they're not qualified. And so that time's been pretty much wasted. So until your club is fully qualified, we will not review your grant. Now, all grants have to be fully complete in their application by October 15th. So for example, the 1st of June, you turn in your full application, your club is fully qualified. We start reviewing those applications. If there's something that's not quite right, we'll communicate with you and get you to fix it. So all those things that need to be fixed need to be done by October 15th. Again, saying your application will not be reviewed until your grant, your club is fully qualified. So if you're running up against a timeline of in October, it could be that you won't receive your grant funding because you didn't get qualified in time to have your grant reviewed. And we don't want that to happen to anybody. So please encourage your PE, if they haven't taken the grant management seminar, to do that. You're obviously here taking this course, so that component will be complete. The MOU is on this page. If you look down, all the files you might need. So there's the memo of understanding. And then below that is the financial management plan. So those two things have to be on file. Send those to Hal Kibbe. You can download those right from here. So Hal or Leanne, is there anything that I missed in going over that?
Tim, the only thing that I noticed that you missed is they're not qualified until they've paid their district and RI dues as well.
That's right. Of course, you have to be a qualified Rotary Club by having paid your dues. And that's generally not an issue, but sometimes it is. So just make sure that those dues are taken care of.
And they also have to be current on all their reporting, including global grants as well as district grants.
Exactly. Exactly. Thanks, Hal. I appreciate that. So with that, Lynn, I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, great. All right, so anytime you click that icon on, you'll come to this page. So it's a constant reminder for you. So when you are ready to put your application in, you are going to click on your club grants view on the left-hand side. And when you do that, you're going to see a gold button up here. Now, your district team was kind enough to enter the president-elects on the signature list. So this is ready to go for the president-elect to, once the grant is complete, for them to sign it and to submit it to the district. So we're going to click on the button. And now you're going to come to the first step of the application where you're going to put in your project name. I'm just going to put this one as test. And then you'll just put whatever city this is taking place in. In the country, simply US, if that's where it is. Your targeted completion date. I'm just going to put something out here. And then you can select an area of focus, or you can just put other and whatever description you need here. This little box here is the project description. This should be a short description because on the application itself, you have somewhere where you can put a more detailed description. So this should be a brief description of what your project is going to be about.
And Lynn, if I could interrupt, the brief description should be no longer than 400 characters, because that description is what your your grants committee is going to be putting into Rotary International to request the funds.
Right.
Yeah.
We look for brief.
Mhm.
Right.
Very
Right.
brief, 400.
Then they can easily just transfer this information to the online application. The next tab is the Clubs Involved tab. And if you're going to be the main club and you and other clubs are going to join you, you'll just move the club names over to the right, just highlight them here and click the arrows pointing to the right to move them over here. But we're just going to leave one club in this example. The contacts would be the other individuals on the team who are working on this grant, maybe coordinating the details of it. All you have to do is move those members over just like you did the clubs involved. Then the final tab is the application tab. So you're going to select a start date. And I know these aren't agreeing with the dates, but we're just going to pick a few dates out here to give you the idea. And here where the bank address to mail the payment to, in most cases, it's the treasurer of the club. And then you would put the address. And now down here is where you can put more information in. So here's where you're going to actually describe what the project is about. And you could put your long description here. And in these additional boxes, you're just going to answer, put a paragraph or two. What are the humanitarian efforts? How are the Rotarians going to be involved? And be detailed. And how are you going to advertise what the project was, what you did? Could be Facebook. If you have a website, it could be the website, could be the local paper, press release, whatever you're going to do to publicize this activity. You have some additional questions here. If you are using another agency that's going to assist you, you have to put their name right here. I'm going to put NA for now. And then here are a couple statements you have to agree to. And here it says you are certifying that at least one member of the club is familiar with this project and understands the MOU, financial management plan, terms and conditions, etc. And you have to put their name here. And then I'm going to click on yes, I agree to the terms and conditions. And now notice there are 4 tabs here. Once you save it, now you're going to see some additional tabs, your budget tab and a documents tab. You're also going to notice this little bar graph up here, and this will tell you where you are in the process. So you always know if there's anything additional that you need to do to get this grant submitted. So right now it is in the draft stage. So our next step is to enter our budget. So I'm going to add our income. I'm going to say this is our DDF request. And I'm going to say it's $1,000. Whoops. And that's my DDF request. And then you're going to add your additional income. I'm going to say that's also $1,000. And of course, it's going to be whatever it really is. So I have a total of $2,000 that I'm planned to spend. And then for my expenses, I'm going to estimate right here. So once you're estimated expenses should equal your income. So you want to make sure you see a 0 down here. And if there's any documentation that you want to add right now, maybe you have an Excel spreadsheet that outlines what you're going to do. If you're working with a cooperating agency, maybe there's a document or a letter that they've sent to you that you want to add here. It's pretty simple. You could either upload a file or add a folder and upload files into that folder. So when you click on upload file, you browse your computer and just click the upload button and it will upload everything there. It will put some automatic files here. Here's the grant application because we had saved it. You have a copy here. It's an HTML, so you could always click this on if you wanted to see what your application looked like. But now, if you're totally happy with everything here, now you're ready to collect your grant signatures. So you would come in here and click this little button. And it's going to ask you if you're sure you want to start the process of collecting the signatures from your club so you can submit the grant to the district. You are going to say, okay. Now, when you do that, we have some additional tabs. One is the activity log and one is the signature log. So if I look at the activity log, it keeps track of everything we did. So the final thing we did here was we submitted it for club approval, which now means the club has to sign it. If I look at the signature log, I'll see that Shane, since that's who I'm impersonating, is the one who started this process. So now, since Shane is the president-elect, he is on the signature list. So he can simply click this button now up here that says sign the grant application. Now, if you made a mistake and you have to go back and say, oh, I'm really not ready to do this, you can click this button that says revert to a draft. So I'm going to click this on and the box will come up asking me if I want to sign the grant. I'm going to say, okay. And I think it's working here. Okay, and the grant was signed. So I'm going to come over here now. And now you can see that Shane also signed the grant. And let me go back over here. I don't see my button now. I think you have it set to one. Wait, only 0 of the 1 signatures needed. That's interesting. I'm not sure it refreshed. Let's just do this. Go back here. And okay. Yep, it just didn't refresh there and I don't know why. So I'm going to check out to see why it didn't. So if you see what I just did, I just went back to Club Grants View, just clicked my little pencil, and now it refreshed because now I see the button up here that says Submit Grant for District Approval. So when you click that on, now it is going to be submitted for approval. So now you can see exactly right up here where you're at. You submitted the grant for district approval. So if you go back to the club's view, you're going to see it's down here. Somebody was playing with a test grant down here too, but here it is. And now the district is ready to review it once you've met the criteria to qualify for the grant. I'm going to stop there for a moment. Mike, is there anything I missed on the application before I cover final reports?
Not so far. We're getting just a couple questions.
Okay.
One has to do with where is the grant video? And so I basically told them to go to look on the left side lens. So if you could kind
Right
of
here.
highlight that area there, and then a follow-up question came after that. Do I need to look at both of them? In this case, if you are a club, you only really look at the first one. The second one is geared to the district level.
Right,
So
exactly.
the video that we're asking people to watch to qualify their club is
Oh.
one that we will post on the district website, which is this presentation today.
Oh,
so
okay.
will you see, on the district website, or are you going to put a link here also, Tim?
Yes,
Under,
yes.
okay.
I'll move a link onto that same landing page.
Okay, so if you go to the grant overview here, Tim will probably have a link down here for that video of today's presentation if somebody has to watch it.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Okay, so what I did earlier today was I created a test grant that was approved by the district now. So you can see that this one says approved. Here's where your status appears. These are waiting for approval. This one is approved. Now I know your 2021 grants need to be, you have to do your final report by December 31st. So you can kind of follow this for that procedure. So you're going to come in here, you're going to click the pencil, and after your grant is approved, you'll see a couple other tabs here. The one we're going to talk about today is the final report tab. So when you click that on, you're going to scroll down and notice that some of the information is automatically filled in. This came right from the application. So you really only need to fill in the areas that are not filled in. So how many people benefited from this project? So whatever that estimate is, you're going to fill that out there. How many of the Rotarians participated in the project? And then what did they do? Whatever it is, just put in here what they did during the project. And then of course, if you do have a cooperating organization that was involved, put the information there. You don't have to put anything here in this financial area. Everywhere you see these little fields with the brackets, that means it's automatically going to be filled in on the final report. And I'll show you what that looks like later. So once you're happy with that, you're going to click Save the Final Report. It's going to ask you, well, it's going to tell you that it's saved and that a PDF has been created in the documents. So if I go over to the documents now, here's my final report right here. So one of the things before you fill out the final report, you may want to do your expenses. And here you can actually enter any receipts. So I'm going to just pick one here. And I don't remember what it was. I think it was like 1,200 and something. I'll just put 1,200, but we'll find it and correct it. So I'm going to go over here to my little folder where I have some receipts. And I'm going to add this one. So my receipt is added, and I want to point out that, let's see, my receipt should be added right here. It is. It's just not showing a name here. There it is. This is the receipt I just added. So if we were to open it, you probably won't be able to see this because it's small. So here's my receipt. 91. Okay. Go back here. Let me just change the amount. 1, 2, 4, 1, 91. Okay. And then you can put your payments in here. So you can say the check was to the warehouse. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 4, 1. And then if you do have a copy of the check, you can add it here too. And so of course you want it to come to 0. And then if you have any other documents that you want to add, pictures are something good to add. So let's add some of our images. I'm going to browse again to that little folder. We'll just put some images of the Rotarians distributing the dictionaries. And then we are going to save this again. Okay, and it will remind you that the final report is saved. I do want to point out under the documents, and to get back to the main page of your documents, you see I'm under images here. You just hit that little home button. There's a backup. And under that backup, every time you save that final report, it saves a new edition of it. So I just wanted to point that out. So now you're ready to collect the final signatures for the report. Very similar to what you did when you submitted your application. Now you're going to click on Sign Final Report, and you can see the signatures so far from the process from the beginning. And I'm going to refresh it over here. And I'm going to go back here. Now you're ready to submit your final report to the district for approval. So I'm going to click that on, and you can see where you are in the process. If we look at our signature log, now you can see everyone who signed it from the very beginning. So you know exactly where you're at all times. And now I want to go back to the documents and just take a look at the final report. I'm going to open that. So this is what your final report will look like. You scroll down. It has your budget, has everybody who signed it. And well, and it should show your pictures here. I'll have to check this one out too. Should be showing your pictures there. So let me go back here. Let's see if they're showing here. There we go. I will check to see on that PDF. It just didn't seem to refresh correctly there. So, but we'll make sure that's all working by the time you have to do that. But here's the HTML version. So this is what your final report should look like with all the pictures, etc. Okay, Mike, is there anything I missed on that final report?
No, actually, Lynn, the only thing I would highly recommend, and only because I'm actually paying out my clubs today, is that budget area and the expense area would be extremely helpful to me. So it's actually a nice added feature that I believe your grants committee is the one that requested it. But
They did.
you know, I'm literally going through and I have to go to the documents now to make sure that we actually have that information where I want it to be, and that every club has done what they're supposed to do, even though it's been approved on like the final check. So this is a really nice feature that got added. And I think the only other thing I might want to talk a little bit about is if you have multiple clubs that are joining in on one grant application, and how do you allow that, or does every club have to do their own grant?
Now, there can be multiple clubs on one application.
Okay, so, and where I'm going with this is, again, I'm approving today, and I have in my Las Vegas area, I have about 8 clubs that do the Santa Claus thing every year. And what's nice about it, they all join together, but we don't require every club to have signatures on it. They have what they call the main club. In this case would be our big club, which would be the Las Vegas club. So I mean, that works really nice when you're trying to do, doing one project with multiple clubs involved.
Right. And I would also say along the way, as you are getting these receipts, come into the expenses and start entering them. Make the copy
Mhm.
of your receipt, put the amount in, load the receipt up, and that will save you a lot of time towards the end of the year when you're ready to really submit this.
Michael?
Yes.
We're going to need to discuss that in our grants committee because we require every club to sign it so that they all
Okay.
know that they're
Well,
spending their money.
you can go one or the other. The reason it got implemented is that, I think our first or second year we did this, I had that situation in my Vegas area, and it was a nightmare
Yeah, it
because
is.
requiring it. And so, but there's a button within setup that you can say you require everybody to do it or just one club to do it.
And seeing that you only require one signature from each club, that will make it easy.
Yeah, definitely. We require two.
Mhm.
I'd like to make a point, especially for those people that are on here that are new to this, and that is the save button. Every step of the way, every page, whether it's you're adding a club or adding a contact or whatever, you need to hit that save button in the upper right-hand corner before you leave that page. I worked with a lot of clubs on this sort of stuff, and we were constantly running into problems. People would enter something and then they would leave the page and then it would be gone. And that would be true of
Right.
the application. And they swore they did it. And we said, well, yeah, but you must not have hit the save button. So I cannot emphasize that enough.
Right. And anywhere there's an asterisk, you have to fill that in the first time you save it. So make sure that you have all of that filled out. And like he said, click that save button. Any other questions or?
Lynn, this is Leanne. We do have just a brief few minutes left on this section of today's presentation. We were asked, would you go over the receipts document or piece of this one more time?
On the expenses?
On the expenses and the
Right.
receipts?
So on the expenses, you're going to click on the expense tab and there's two sections, the expenses and then the checks you wrote to cover those expenses. So if you want to add a receipt from the vendor, you're going to click add receipt and you put the vendor name in. You could put the invoice number if there is one, what the amount is. You have a spot to put comments in. As much information as you can put in here will be very helpful to Hal and Kathy as they're reviewing all of this. And then you can actually browse for that invoice, or you can drag and drop it from your computer and just put it in here. And then you're going to click add. And then you're going to do the same thing for the payments. So if you wrote checks, you're going to click add a payment. Who did you make the payment to? What was the check number? What was the amount? You can put your same receipt numbers here if you'd like. And you can also put those receipts in here if you want to say this is the, especially if your check covered more than one receipt, you can put those in there also. And then you just click the add button. And then they will all show up under the documents tab. And I'm not in the one that I was in before, but there will be one here called expenses. So the first time you save it, it will automatically create that folder called expenses. Anything else?
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'll stop sharing.
So there is a question
Oh.
about, does that expenses tab replace the spreadsheet that the district created earlier? Yes, it does. That expense spreadsheet is still available if anybody wants to use it, and then they can just transfer it over to the expenses tab. That's up to you.
Right. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. Well, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks a
Thank you,
lot, you
Lynn.
guys. Bye-bye.
Yep,
Thank you.
Bye-bye. We'll see you later.
Mhm.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you. So we're going to now have Kathy Poole take over, and Kathy will reiterate some specifics to our district that Lynn and Michael covered that is more general. So Kathy?
Okay, thanks, Tim. Thanks to Lynn for walking us through. Okay, so I think Leanne is moving us through the PowerPoint. And as Tim just said, I'm going to review some of the things that Lynn said with emphasis on specifically how these questions or issues relate to us in our district. Before starting that, though, I wanted to just give you a quick review of what happened with funded district grants in this past year, actually the current year that we're about to finish up, 2021. Oh, Leanne, could you go back to that one again? One slide. Thank you. 64 grants were funded for 2021. 8 of those projects were international. Most of them, 56, were domestic projects, and we had 6 multi-club grants. We expended $154,050 in district matching funds to match your club funds that you put up with your proposals for your project funding. So it's a significant, as I think was mentioned earlier, significant number of grants we're working on and wonderful projects that you are all working through. For 2021, this coming Rotary year, the final dollar figure is not 100% clear yet. It's not finalized yet, I should say, but we do know that we will have enough funding for every club in our district to have at least one district grant funded, and that would be a maximum of $2,000 in matching funds for a grant proposal. However, we do allow clubs to propose 2 proposals, and if funding is available, then we will fund second priority proposals. Okay, so to quickly review, Tim has already mentioned this, and it was in our landing page, but June 1st is our deadline this year. So you have another couple of weeks to work on your proposals. But that is the deadline. No preliminary application this year. That's the completed application. And then, as Tim also mentioned, we will be reviewing those proposals. And if we notice things are missing, we'll be in touch with you and make sure that you can upload or edit whatever needs to be done. Please note that your president-elect needs to sign your proposal this year, not the current president, because we want to be sure, since our proposals are submitted before the new Rotary year, we want your president-elect to be the one signing it and the one who knows exactly what's going on. Again, maximum match from the district is $2,000, and that means if you go for ask for a $2,000 match, your club would be putting up to $2,000. You can, of course, ask for something less than. Multi-club proposals must be listed as high priority for all participating clubs. And you can probably imagine if only half the clubs in a multi-club proposal listed as their top choice, and we can't fund second proposals or all second proposals, then we have a problem there. So multi-club proposals must be listed as high priority. If you're submitting 2 district grant proposals, one must be listed as high and the other must be listed as medium priority. So we clearly want to know what your top priority proposal is. Again, we can't say off the top right now, off the cuff right now, how many proposals will be funded and how many second grants will be funded, because that depends on how many clubs propose district grants and then what our final dollar amount is for district matching funds. Okay, next slide, Leanne, thank you. Okay, as Tim mentioned, we will not be reviewing your proposals until your club is qualified. Hal is going to reiterate kind of what it takes to be qualified. Tim walked us through that at the beginning, so you'll have one more chance in a few minutes when Hal is up. But you must have your club qualified before we'll review your proposals. Also, again, we give you between June and October 15th to complete everything in your proposal. And as soon as everything is complete, as soon as your club is qualified, you have everything there, we will approve it and we will fund it. Yeah, so we'll be funding, I mean, we'll be approving and funding grants really throughout those months there. But anybody who hasn't completed their application by October 15th, we're going to be closing those out, and there won't be any more, finalizing proposals after October 15th. A reminder, December 31st is the deadline for district final reports for your district grants. Keep in mind that we're always working in 2 Rotary years, district grant years. So December 31st of this year, 2021, your final reports will be due for your 2021 grant proposals. But you have until December 31st, 2022 to complete your final report for the 21-22 grants. A little confusing there, but you have a year plus to complete everything. And as Tim also mentioned, we really appreciate you working on those final reports as soon as you complete your projects. And as Lynn also pointed out to us, upload those receipts and start working on those things as you go, rather than having to worry about doing that all at the same time, a year later after you've already done everything and maybe forgotten where to find everything. Okay.
All done? Okay, come and sit down.
Let's see, a couple reminders here.
Way over there.
We've been really working on
No, no, here.
We need you to mute your microphones, please.
Thank you. We've been working with clubs this past year to make sure that all of you have dedicated district grant bank accounts. So if you happen to be one of those very few clubs who doesn't have a dedicated district grant bank account yet, we urge you to work on that now. And to show us, I mean, we'll want to see in your district grant proposal information that tells us what that account is, so that to demonstrate that you have that account and that you'll be using it, you can either upload a blank check, you can upload a deposit slip, or a bank statement to show which account is your club's dedicated district grant bank account. And if you have questions about this, any of us can, Hal or Leanne or Tim or I can talk to you. If you want to contact us directly, we'd be happy to clarify for you exactly how that works. Keep in mind that your district grant project expenses must be paid from that account, right? So actually before that, all of your grant funds need to go into that account. That means your club's funds plus your district matching funds. So let's say you asked for 2,000 in matching funds and your club put up 2,000. We want to see that 4,000 in your district grants bank account. And then as you pay your project expenses, those payments should come out of that same district grant bank account. It's not allowed to commingle funds with your club operating account and other bank accounts. It does make review and approval of your projects significantly easier. It helps all of the outside readers track what you're doing when you manage everything through your dedicated district grants bank account. Okay, next slide. An important reminder regarding spending for district grant projects. Really, really important for you to know that you can't actually start spending money on a project until your district grant proposal has been officially approved. That goes back to the Rotary Foundation. That's not just a district requirement, but you can't, for example, be paying for things related. Let's say you have a park project in your town and you're going to be building basketball courts or something. You can't be starting to pay for those expenses now because your proposal hasn't been approved yet for 2021. Okay, so be sure to wait and do not spend any grant funds until your grant proposal has been approved. Okay, and a quick reminder, yes, you were in fact allowed to do that during the pandemic last year for 2021 grants. We did allow early spending because of the pandemic, but that was 1 year only. That was unique to 2021. Please be sure to wait on any grant spending until your grant is approved in the coming year. A few odds and ends and reminders, just back to that landing page. There's a ton of really, really good information for you on that landing page for 2021 grants. So look there for all of the documents that you need for your club to be qualified, for your president to sign. Those are there. Our timeline is there. Again, this is just a very small couple of reminders. Lynn pointed out that there are 2 places on your proposals. On the details tab, we want a very, very short summary description of your proposal. On the application tab, there's a project description box where you can put a much expanded, much more detailed description. We do ask you to make some, at least brief mention of Rotarian involvement also on that details tab when you're talking about the summary of your proposal. Okay, let's see, down to number 4, budget tab. Just a reminder that a complete budget includes both the income side and the expense side. Occasionally we have folks who only fill out one or the other, but if you're working on a $4,000 project, you'll want to say in the income side, $2,000 club funds, plus we're requesting $2,000 in DDF for a total of $4,000 on the income side. And then you'll want to outline your plan for $4,000 in expenses in the expense section.
Kathy?
Sure.
I want to mention too that if you're part of a larger project, some of the book projects can be much larger. We only care about the club cash that you're putting in and the DDF that you're requesting. Please don't include that entire project, just the component that you're using your club cash and the DDF for.
Great, thank you, Tim. Also, let's see, as Lynn mentioned, and as you saw in her demonstration, we have this new expenses tab. So rather than revising the budget tab, when you come to working on your final report, uploading your receipts and uploading your canceled checks for payments, you'll actually do that in the expenses tab. So that's actually a really great and wonderful addition. And as I think Susie or somebody asked, our spreadsheet is still up there if you want to use it, but when it comes to working through your final report, you'll want to use the new expenses tab. Quick reminder on the documents tab, that is where you will upload these documents such as your district grant bank account verification. And if you have a cooperating organization, you'll want to upload your MOU agreement with that organization at the same location. Okay, and final report, when you get there, we'll ask you to upload photos, articles, publicity materials, and any other documents. All of those will go in your documents tab. And I'm just going to make one other quick request and reminder as you going back now to the project proposal for 21-22 that you're going to be working on and completing by June 1st. Once you have gotten that proposal close to being complete, we ask you to send Hal or me a note, an email message saying, would you please take a look at my proposal and let me know if anything is missing. That's a helpful step in the process. It's not absolutely required, but it's a lot easier for us to troubleshoot and tell you what you need to edit, if you need to edit anything, before you submit for club signatures and before you submit for district approval.
Kathy, there's a question And it's from Susie. And Susie, would you clarify, turn on your mic and clarify your question about receipts receipts of approval?
Oh, in terms of when you can begin spending the money, I had it in my brain that we couldn't start spending it till we had actually received the district's money. But what I'm hearing you say is that it can be once the grant is approved that we
Once
can.
you receive approval for your grant, you can start
Okay.
spending money if you have the money before you get the check.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Just one last comment. Hal and I are very willing to talk with you, email back and forth with you, answer questions as questions come up and you're working on your proposals. So know that you're welcome to contact either of us. And also we're adding 2 new members to the district grants review team this year, Bruce Garrett and Tim Quinlan. They are in learning mode at this time, so they're not ready to respond to questions quite yet, but they'll be helping with project review, final report review, and once they get a handle on things, they'll be open to helping you as well. So anyway, we really look forward to working with you and helping you get the funds you need to do all the great work that you all are doing. Thank you.
So Kathy, before we go on, both Julie DeCaro and Eric Hodnett brought up a point that I think Lynn sort of glazed over on the final report, and that is the final report does automatically fill in what your application says you're going to do, but in the final report, we actually want you to fill in what you actually did.
Yes, thank you. That's really important. The final report tab, when you click on that tab on your proposal, it will automatically populate, as Tim just said. It will automatically populate what you said you're going to do. There's 2 ways to go about changing it. You can either revise that, or you can space down at the end of the paragraph that you had written in your proposal and just say, final report, colon, what we actually did was this. So that's an important piece. Absolutely.
So the other thing I wanted to mention is if after your grant is approved and you start the project and something happens, that's generally not something that would happen, like with COVID this last year, and you need to change your project, you would need to contact Kathy or Hal or myself or Leanne and say, hey, I need to, something came up, this is what happened, we need to change our project, and you'd have to resubmit an application, and I would have to resubmit that to the Rotary Foundation for approval.
Kathy, we have a few questions before we move on to Hal. I want to kind of move the agenda along here. We had someone ask, could they donate funds to a local nonprofit and be working on a service project?
So donating, I'm not 100% sure if I have the question right, but I'll take a stab at it. If this is going to be what we would like to see, you can't just donate money to an external organization. You can partner with an external organization, however, and that's this, the memorandum of understanding we ask you to sign with your cooperating organization. So you could work together with that organization on the project. You could authorize them to spend the funds. Let's say, go back to this park project. You're going to work with the city of Grants Pass and build new basketball courts in a city park. You can partner with the city or with some other organization, but you need to sign that agreement that you are partnering, and you need to make it very clear who's responsible for tracking the finances. So either your club needs to write the check to pay the expenses and obtain the receipts, or you empower the city or that partner organization to pay the expenses. But then that partner organization still has to provide receipts for, okay, we bought, concrete for $500, we bought, basketball hoops for whatever. So you need the receipts, and you're going to need evidence of payment of those receipts. So you work that out with a partnering organization, but you can't sort of just give the money away to somebody else and say, sure, go ahead and go do that. You'll still be required to document all expenses. I hope that answers the question.
Great. Yeah, Kathy, thank you very much. So let's see, looking at another question here. How does your committee look at repeat grants? If we're following up, we did a literacy project last year, and that's what our 21-22 grant proposal is going to be. There are lots of examples of that. Does district policy allow that?
Yes, definitely. I mean, lots of clubs have established, I mean, the Literacy Project is a great example. Lots of clubs have gift of literacy projects or related projects with school districts. You can absolutely follow up and do that same kind of a project the following year. You build that relationship. I'm not aware of any time limit on doing a similar project because in essence, you're working with a different group of students every year. You're providing those books or those supplies or whatever. So unless Tim or Leanne have any other qualifying comments, that is possible.
That's correct.
All right, and we'll take this one last question and then we want
Kathy?
to go ahead,
Kathy,
Hal.
I followed up on that several years ago with TRF when I asked about the follow-on projects, because it says it can't be used for the same thing year after year. And they told me as long as it didn't go over $1 million, we were okay.
Not a problem.
Okay.
Not a problem.
Not a problem. Okay, our last question here. Instead of writing a check, funds are transferred between banks to pay for invoices. So what kind of documentation do you want to see on that final report?
Okay, so that is absolutely understandable. Sometimes you don't pay by check directly from your account. What you will need to do then is upload your bank statements. When you make a transfer to some other entity to pay for your bills, after the fact, once that payment has cleared, it should show up on your district grant bank account statement. So we'll want to see that statement. So, you know, sometimes it takes a month, 6 weeks, whatever, for those checks or those transfers to clear. That's where making sure that you follow this and really starting to upload those documents as you go, as you make payments, that will make everybody's life easier. So, you know, an uploaded statement from your bank, from that district grants bank account showing that transfer will work. And we do need you to, I mean, we can't, if it's really unclear what that is, if it all it says is transfer from bank A to bank B, we need you to submit something that tells us what that transfer is. We need guidance sometimes when we're reviewing those, but a bank statement will work.
Yeah,
Hey,
it's really important that people don't assume that we know what they did. So the more that people can clarify that, and if there's a receipt that goes with that transfer, then make sure you write it on there that this check, or I mean, this receipt goes with this transfer statement. Even if you hand number it with a number, that expense report will allow you to put in numbers. And if you even handwrite them on so that we can match them up, that will make a huge difference.
Yeah, I will just say we do spend a lot of time reviewing these, and it's fantastic when you guide us, when you walk us through what you did, because mystery payments with no description, we don't necessarily know what they are.
Great, thank you, Kathy, really appreciate it. And while we're making the transition to Hal, because this is a required attendance here as part of the qualification, would you please go to the chat box and put your name and your club name in there for me, and I will capture that.
Okay, Hal, it's all yours.
Good afternoon, everybody. If we could get the first slide, Leanne. All these references are available on the DACDB site that Lynn and Tim were talking about, so you can simply download them from there. I would encourage you to read and understand particularly the terms and conditions for Rotary grants, the club financial management plan, and the club memorandum of understanding. I know this past year, we had one club president that accused me of making up rules as we went. And I said to him that it was in the memorandum of understanding that he had signed. And his comment to me was, I never signed anything, but he had. So please make sure you read those and that you understand those. I saw a question in the chat box a minute ago from Camille. There's really two memorandums of understanding. There's a cooperating organization memorandum of understanding that we've created this year that will help cover all the points that need to be in the letter. You can still use a letter from a cooperating organization if you want to, but you need to make sure that it covers all of the points that are in that cooperating organization memorandum of understanding. Next slide. I debated whether to put up a definition of a conflict of interest for everybody to read. To me, it's pretty self-evident what conflict of interest covers, but we've had some problems with it in the past. My advice to you is that if you think there's any possibility of a conflict of interest, that you declare it up front. You let us take a look at it and decide whether or not it is a conflict of interest. And if we think that it is, we can solve that problem before the project is done. And that's an easy thing to do. It's not hard to solve conflicts of interest if we know them before the project's done. Where it becomes a real problem is if the conflict of interest occurs and we don't know about it until after the project is done. Next one. You know, the final reports for 2021 grants are due December 31st. And I can't emphasize enough to please, please do not take photos of receipts, checks, or other documents. Please scan them and upload them as a PDF file. The JPEG files become extremely difficult to read, and we spend hours with our eyeballs going kind of bonkers trying to read really small print. So please scan all documents and upload them as PDFs. There are free apps around that will allow you to scan things on your phones. So use one of those apps. Please label receipts carefully. When we see a receipt that says scan2345.pdf, it tells us nothing. Please label it like receipt from Safeway for food, or receipt from whatever for what it is. We need the front and back of all checks, canceled checks. And I know this past year, a couple of clubs had a difficulty finding copies of the back of their canceled checks. They said they weren't getting them back or couldn't get them back from the bank. So if you will send us a copy of the front of the check, and you can then scan the bank statement showing that that check number was actually cashed, that'll work instead of having the back of the canceled check. Next slide. Use the image folder under the documents for photos and projects. And as Kathy and Lynn have talked about, the grant expense tab that's new this year should help you keep track of your expenses and your payments quite nicely. It will track the canceled checks, the credit card numbers, etc. if you fill that tab out as you go. And it's a lot easier to do it as you go rather than after the fact. Next slide. I'm not going to comment on all of these, but the second one, the zero balance invoice, is one that created some problems this last year for us. We were getting invoices that showed a balance due of, say, $400. Well, that does not count as a receipt. We need the invoice to show that it's a zero balance invoice, and that is acceptable as a receipt if the balance shows as zero. If you have foreign receipts, please show us the exchange rate. I know Rotary International has an official exchange rate, but don't worry too much about that as long as you're close. But tell us what you used as an exchange rate, and if it's within reason, that's very acceptable. I want to emphasize once again something Kathy said, and that's all receipts must be dated after the grant has been approved. This past year, we ran into a situation where the club thought their grant had been approved because Tim had turned it in on the block grant to RI, and RI had not yet approved it. So those receipts were not acceptable. And what we're going to do this year is we will not approve any grants at the district level until after we've received approval from TRF. So that hopefully will keep that problem from happening again. Next one. As Kathy mentioned, cooperating organizations must also provide receipts. Gift cards have become a little bit of a problem. We cannot use gift cards except to a business that sells only one commodity. For example, if you want to provide food to somebody, you can use a gift card to McDonald's because all McDonald's sells is food, but you cannot use a gift card to Safeway because Safeway sells more than food. Safeway sells flowers and lots of other things. So if you want to use a gift card, it has to be to a business that sells only one commodity, and that is acceptable.
So Hal, we
Yes?
had a person tell us that they had an arrangement with a grocery store for their gift cards that come from Rotary Club, that they would not sell cigarettes, alcohol, beer, etc. And as long as that letter is included, then that would work. We just
Yeah,
need it to be transparent that they need to buy what's expected.
But we also want the receipt then for those things.
Absolutely.
And the other thing that you can do if you have gift cards is if you have a Rotarian with somebody, they can also monitor that. But, err on the side of caution with gift cards. And there's no cash payments to individuals. Next. I firmly believe that we should be as transparent as possible. So we've established stewardship files in DACDB. A copy of all the club MOUs and financial management plans are filed there under the club name. The grant qualification certificate issued by RI for the club president-elects having completed the grants management seminar is there. There's also a summary sheet showing what clubs are qualified, and that's updated at least every 2 weeks. I try to keep that updated every week. But as a reminder, to be qualified for district grants, you have to be current with RI dues, district dues. I have to have a copy of your financial management plan, a copy of your MOU. Your president has to have completed the grant management seminar. Somebody in the club that's been working or is working on the district grant training has to have completed this course that we're doing today. You have to be current with global grant final reports, and you have to be current with district grant reports. I don't think being current with district grant reports this year is really going to be a problem because none of them are due until December 31st.
So Hal?
Yes?
There's a little bit of confusion about what the president-elect needs to complete.
The president-elect needs to log on to the RI website and complete the grants management, I'm going to say seminar, and the club president-elect has to complete that grant management seminar. They have to sign the MOU and the FMP.
Thank you.
This course today, or this session today, does not qualify a PE for doing the grants. It's a much more extensive training. I think the last one just says, oh, there's one more, Leanne. The stewardship files are available in DACDB. At the top of the page, when you log on, click on district, and then click on the files icon, and then click on foundation, stewardship, and 21-22, and you'll find all of the files that I have there, including a copy of the club qualification spreadsheet. So with that, I'll just simply say thank you, and a special thank you to you PEs that are with us, because to me, you have the most important job in Rotary, because Rotary happens because of our Rotarians and because of the leadership that you provide to them. So thanks for the time that you're going to spend with your clubs this coming year. Thanks, Hal. Really appreciate it. I want to remind people that
the PowerPoint that Kathy used and the PowerPoint that Hal used are available. I sent out links to them. They are on the district website under the foundation tab under grant information. So both of those are available for you to go back and review. And as we've said, any of us are available to answer your questions. Our job is to help you be successful. And so we're very serious about doing that. I want to thank Kathy and Hal for all the work that they've done. And I want to thank Bruce and Tim for joining us. It's an exciting thing to see the amazing projects that happen throughout this district. And it's really gratifying and fulfilling to see what all you guys do to make this world a better place. Thank you for your time today. And if you have any specific questions, please don't hesitate to contact us.